from here on in, it's from
Is it on now?
your mouth to the people's ears.
100% on.
Marky, if you can stay a little bit closer to the mic as much as you can. Dino, stop shaking, bro. It's going to be okay. You go to Durban for fucking 1 week, you come back.
What's so exciting?
What's the problem, bro?
I can't sit still, bro.
This is the veil, bro. You're the mayor here, bro. These are your people, bro. And now you're sitting here all nervous. What's going on,
I'm
bro?
not nervous. I'm not moved.
Is anyone else sweating? I see you sweating.
I'm always
Is it the water?
So you've got a direct channel to the window there that'll keep you fresh. As soon as the wind picks up, you'll be fine. You'll stop sweating.
It'll be okay.
So, gentlemen, what is happening? You're in town. You're in town. You walked here. You drove through here. What's going on?
Yes. Okay. It all started about 2 years ago.
What, to get here or?
Well, yeah, it's been a long ride.
The road is long.
No, I'm joking. Well, I don't know. We need to pick a subject. There's quite a few, I guess. So
No,
we can.
you rolled. Did you roll with where you were going? You were going for 2 years.
I think, yeah, a lot of people know you.
Just try to stay on the mic as much as you can.
Can I drop it like it's hot?
No, you can hold it. Just now you can. If you wriggle,
It's
it's going to
better.
make strange noises. But that's
Everyone's seen you walking, so then tell them about your walk.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's obviously one main topic we would love to hear about.
Okay, so it did start about 2 years ago. Is it dead?
No.
Is it me?
No. You're good.
Oh, okay.
You've gone
Sorry.
soft. Probably your
Yeah,
earphones.
it did go soft. But it's
There we
cool.
go.
Are we better now?
Perfect.
Okay, sorry guys, I'm not used to this. I'm used to street lamps and things. Okay. Yeah, it started 2 years ago, actually with a breakup, and I wanted to pursue my dreams, give it everything.
Eventually we're going to get this right.
But yeah, one of those ones you can flip on. There we go.
Ooh, okay.
There we go. Oh, that's
Better.
my French.
Yeah.
So pick up everything. Okay.
Okay, 2 years ago with the breakup.
2 years ago with the breakup, I felt like, okay, no, it started just before the breakup. Boyd invited me to go to Russia with him, and that was the first time I went overseas, and it was a life-changing experience. Went there with him, a week in that atmosphere, a week prepping him for his fight, cutting weight with him, training with him, and it just ignited this fire inside of me. Realized that I've always done this. Like, I started when I was 15, and I've always wanted to be the best in the sport. I've never wanted to just be mediocre. It's not enough for me to just be in the UFC, to just get there. So that's what I'm working for. And coming back, I found that I got stagnant. I fell into the comfort zone. And when I got back, I started training on the next level. And me and my girlfriend, we made a few life changes to start pursuing this goal of mine. And she had some goals that she wanted to pursue, but it just wasn't working out. And I made the decision that if I'm going to pursue this, it has to be on my terms, and I have to go for it 100%. So I broke up with her soon after that, and couch surfed for about 2 weeks, just with my bag. And at the end of the 2 weeks, went to Abu Dhabi for the Worlds in Jiu-Jitsu. Went there, got my ass handed to me in the first round. Came back more driven than ever before, but a little bit bruised ego. Started training because I took a few years off. I went to Richie once and I said, look, you know, like the way I see it, everyone in the top 5, top 3, they are the greatest at something. Either striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, their mindset, conditioning, whatever it is, but they are the best at something. And at the moment, I'm mediocre in everything. My ground isn't great, my stand-up isn't great, my conditioning is almost non-existent. But I feel like I do have an advantage on the ground. That's why I do the best. So I'm going to take some time off and focus on jiu-jitsu. So I started walking that road and training a lot more. I started training like 3 sessions a day, just pure jiu-jitsu. Started coaching, and my jiu-jitsu elevated to what I believe was the next level. So coming back from that, coming back from Abu Dhabi, now I decided, okay, it's time to pursue MMA again. It's time to chase those goals, and started training next level, and it just couldn't get a fight with the UFC, talking to managers overseas, just nothing happening. And from there, I like I've always been a free spirit, just kind of on a field one day with a friend of mine and his child, and we're just messing around, and I get a phone call from my uncle, and he tells me, look, God's showing him he's going to send me to Russia, and he's going to give me a victory there, a big victory. I was like, okay, that's cool, but I don't have any plans to go to Russia. That was on Sunday. And the next week I had to meet with that same friend that I was on the field with. We were planning a trip to America to go look for some open doors. I told him, look, I believe God is going to bless me with a fight in Russia. I don't know when, I don't know how, but we can't make plans to go to America because if the fight in Russia comes up, I'm going to have to cancel the plans. That next week, Friday. So I got the call on Sunday from my uncle. Friday, I got a message from a manager that I was talking about. He told me, listen, we have a fight for you in Russia. It was like 4 weeks notice, middleweight, are you keen? I said, I'm in. Let me phone my coach, but I can tell you now I'm in. Like I knew it was coming. Phone Richie, he tells me, we're on, we're doing it, let's go. And that next week, Monday, I start training obviously now for the fight, but something isn't right. My body doesn't feel right. Like I feel almost fluish, but there's no phlegm. And as I try train, it doesn't happen. So the week I take off, and Sunday after church, I realize my wisdom tooth is coming out. So it set me back a week, but it's fine. Next week I'm gonna start it. My idea was just like, okay, Monday morning, first thing, get a dentist, pull the tooth. We're flying in 3 weeks, it'll be fine. So I find this dodgy Asian dentist, optometrist.
Something to do with the face.
You walk in and there's just glasses everywhere, dry walls, you separate the dentist from And I'm like, I said, she's like, what can we do for you? I'm like, just pull this tooth right here. And she looks at me like, no, if you're going to be flying, we can't pull that tooth.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what now? No, antibiotics. So I started a course of antibiotics, still haven't trained. And from there, maybe another week later, a rotten flu eats me. So now I'm in bed, I'm like, I feel like death. And it's like I just got the flight confirmation, it's a week and a half maybe before we leave, and I'm just thinking, if I didn't know that I was going to get this fight supernaturally, then I would have pulled out. Because I haven't trained for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Carry on like that. Me and Rich, we get on the flights, we fly there, we get there early hours of the morning, like 3 o'clock. I still remember you couldn't see if the sun was rising or if it was setting. Got to the hotel, slept a little bit, woke up, went downstairs to the gym and did our first session. And as I did that first session, I just felt all my muscles like setting out like the Hulk. And I was like, oh shit, here we go, it's time. And the weight cut went easy. It was only 84 kilos. I cut like 4 kilos, put back 4 kilos plus VAT. When I weighed in, like we weighed in before, when I stood on the scale after it, I was like 90 something. And went into that fight, won in the first round, amazing, and came back here more hungry than ever before. Like now we're doing this, it started. I was in here a week or 2 weeks, then my ankle just like randomly woke up one night with it throbbing. Thought it's nothing, carried on training. Then my other wisdom tooth flared up. I went back to that Asian optometrist dentist. I was like, listen here, I think I cut out.
No, you're good.
Is it good?
Yeah, just
okay.
Come,
let me
come
do
up
this.
a little
Sorry,
bit,
guys,
yeah,
I'm messing
yeah.
around. Okay.
There we go.
So I went back to that same Asian optometrist and I was like, listen, there's no flights this time, we're pulling this tooth. And she's like, okay. Gets a drill, starts drilling it. She has like this little beetle thing, beetle in Afrikaans. Starts smashing my tooth.
Ooh.
Gets the pliers, starts plucking on it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna be the champion one day, I'm gonna be the champion. And eventually it came out, but it had a little hook at the bottom. That's why she was wrestling with it so much. It was about 12:01ish, and I had a client 3 hours after that. So I thought, okay, no pain pills, I'm just gonna go home, take a nap, go take my client. Went home, should have gotten the pain pills. Went to take my client, he's bashing my hands like, bah, 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 bah. I'm like, oh my god, I just want to sleep. So I went through that, and that was close to the weekend. I believe it was a Thursday because the guy trained Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Sorry, Marky, I'm gonna have to
Oh,
put you
sorry,
forward again
Alex.
because now you're slipping out of the camera. You're having a mare.
I'm so bad
No
at this.
worries,
Okay,
no
is this
worries.
good? Is
That's
this good?
perfect, dude.
Okay. Now I can't
Here's
see
a
you.
trick to just sit
Ah.
with your arms
Put your
on the
elbows
table.
Put your elbows on the table.
It keeps you in close. We're not
Every
having-
time I used to do this as a kid, my dad said, "Ah,
Yeah,
elbows."
You're not having dinner now, so
Yeah,
so you
okay,
can.
so we are allowed,
Excuse,
we are allowed.
excuse.
So that was like Thursday. Spent a weekend recovering, and that time actually. So when I came back from Abu Dhabi, on the way back, I quickly sorted out accommodation just online, and I moved in with 3 chicks. So that was. It sounded like a dream come true.
Hang on, Mark. So, I've got one question here. You found a combination with 3 chicks online on the way home.
It sounds dodgier than it was.
I'm not saying it sounds like anything. It's just something I've never quite heard before.
Okay, it was a miserable time in my life. It was the one in short. Yeah.
No, I could just imagine living with 3 chicks. Fucking hell,
It
bro.
was terrible. I'll tell you 2 stories about that before I carry on. So the one, there was this older lady, she like kind of ran the house.
Yeah.
And I respected that. So then there came 2 more younger ones, one a year older than me and one 20 years old. So the one 1 year older than me started taking a liking to me, but I know the rule, you don't shit where you eat. So, no, you don't. You don't. So, you don't.
Yeah.
I was single, ready to mingle, but not where I eat. So we like built a nice relationship, friend-wise. And the other one was harassing me about my dishes all day because I was like dieting consistently. And this is also quite crucial. During that stage, I only ate potatoes, meat, and eggs, and sometimes rye bread. It's very important to remember that. So I was like cooking quite often, eating quite often, doing my dishes at least once a day, but she would hassle me every day about that. And one day her father came to visit, and like a big Dutchie. Like I had to look up at him, he was big. And he slept over, it was fine. And the next day I went home from training just to go wash the dishes or something, and I get there and I walk into my bathroom, looks like someone swam on my tiles. I only had a shower, so the whole floor is wet. So I walk in, I'm like, okay, it's fine, like I don't overreact to things like that. And then I lift the toilet seat to take a piss, and this guy destroyed it. Like, honestly, it looked like he threw a crack in there. I don't know what he did, but it was bad. So I was like, okay, like, she's harassing me, but I'm smarter than her. So I take a photo of it, I clean it, and I don't say a word. I go back to the gym, but I don't do my dishes.
Find it dirty.
I wasn't even at the gym half an hour. I get the message from her. Oh, your dishes, I can't deal with this anymore. Blah, blah. Actually, listen, fair enough. My dishes, I'm sorry, I should have done it. But look what your father did to my bathroom. And I sent her the photo. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Actually, she says, I'll come and clean it. I said, no, don't worry, I cleaned it already. But understand, like, I helped you out, now just please ease off. And she never gave me hassles again, ever. So that was one out of the mix. Now the other one that took a liking to me, remember the rule. Don't shit where you eat, right?
Oh,
So-
that was the potatoes and onions. You remember.
What was the dad doing this shit?
We clearly shat where we ate. But yeah, so then one night this chick, she went out, carried on, and when she came back, came into my room, climbed into my bed, and I would have none of it. I just closed my blanket up and I looked at her like, I'm standing firm to my rules because, it took a lot of strength. It took a lot of strength to do this, but I had to because it's the rule, you don't break the rule. And then she looks at me, so like starts chatting a little bit, and then luckily one of the other ex came in and like harassed me, and she got angry, jumped up, slammed the door, ran out obviously first, slammed the door. Since that day, she would not, like there was no more friendship. You would think she would respect the fact that I pushed her away and like rejected her, but she gave me more hassle for that. So I don't know if the rule is valid. I still stand by it, but I had to bear the brunt of that. So soon after that I moved out. But anyway, so now we get back to no, it happens. There's too many stories. So So we went.
all leading
Now
to one
remember the
event.
potatoes. It started 2 years ago, guys. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's been 2 crazy years.
It's been a lot, yeah.
Okay, so now it's my tooth, it's my ankle. And I still remember one of my friends in Rustenburg, a very good friend of mine, said, after your next fight, we didn't even know about a fight, but he said, after your next fight, I'm going to take you hunting. I've never been. Awesome. So we planned a hunting weekend, but now I just pulled my tooth and my ankle is throbbing. And after the tooth weekend went past, started training that Monday. We're leaving the next week, Thursday, or that week, Thursday, Friday. Start training again Monday. I still remember, so we're leaving on Friday. Still remember Wednesday night, I go do some deadlifts, come home, everything's fine, go sleep. I wake up the next morning and I can't sit up. Feels like someone came and jumped on my chest and it caved in like this. So now it's my tooth, it's my ankle, and it's my chest. And I'm just swallowing pain tablets like it's going out of fashion because it's really sore.
Yeah.
And I go on a hunting trip, shot 2 bucks, 1 shot, 1 kill. Very proud of myself. But the first one is crazy. So we get it, it's lined up, but it's not straight. He told me, listen, just wait for it until it's straight. It's an easy shot, you hit it right there. If it's slightly tilted to either way, a little bit more complicated, you have to adjust.
Yeah.
And this thing was standing like this and I was not letting it run. And I just clapped it, jumped a meter high, ran, and I'm like, please God, honestly, please, if you let us find this buck, I will never shoot another buck again. And they go out searching. 45 minutes later they come back, say, no, come join the party, you need to come search as well. And I always, I'm like, please, I don't want this thing to just run out and die, and I feel bad. And eventually he's like, okay, come, this way. He's like, shh, cut down. And I'm falling with the gun. It's like, creep. And I'm creeping. You see it? And I'm aiming. It's like, you see it? I'm like about to pull the trigger and it's look there. And the flipping buck is lying next to me. I was like, okay, awesome. So that happened. Came back. And now the whole thing, so I'm just going to fast forward past a lot of other stories. I moved out of that. You say please. Good job. But yeah, a whole lot of things happened, but the chest and the ankle stayed. And it got worse. It went to my knees as well. I went to do blood tests. I went to chiros, physios, doctors. If you can think about it, I tried it. And no one could tell me what was going on. It carried on for about 4 months, and the whole time I'm pleading with God, like, please just bless me with a fight. I'm not even training, but I need to fight. I need to just fight. I don't need the money. I need the money, but I don't care about the money. Like, I just want to fight. That's all I want to do. And October, close to my birthday, 22nd of October, I get a phone call from Brave. Hey, bud. And now that time I just started like getting a little bit better, training once or twice a week, and then for 3 days again I'm out. I'm in too much pain to train. Got a phone call from Brave. Listen, there's this American, do you want to fight him? And I go check him out. I'm like, well, okay, this guy's got a big record. I'm super keen. Let me speak to my coach. I go speak to my coach. Hey coach, listen, I know I haven't been training. Can we please take the fight? If I'm not training in 2 weeks, then I understand, we leave it. Like, what can we do? So he says, okay, let's do it. Start training for the fight, and miraculously, my body starts falling into place. And I have exactly an 8-week training camp before that fight in Brave. Me and Dino fought together. And the camp went really well. It went really, really well. I worked a lot on my stand-up, and obviously still focused on the ground. Fight night came, and it was amazing. It was amazing the interactions I had with the guy before the fight, actually, the stare downs and the mental battle before we actually got to the cage. And one of the last ones is my favorite. It was set up where it was like a loop like this. My opponent's corner was here, and you have to walk past his door actually all the way around to my corner. And I went out to go get a coffee and greet some people, and as I came back, there's like standing in the hall next to someone else talking, so there's not really a gap for me to walk in, and he's eating an apple, and I'm like, this is it, like, we're gonna throw down right now. And I just start pacing down on him, and he looks at me and he just goes, make space for me. And as I paused, he was such a cheeky guy, like I actually admired his personality, and as I went by, I just went and he bit his apple, and I was like yeah, needless to say, went into that fight, and in the first round I kicked him and I kicked shin on shin and I dislocated a tendon in my ankle. And as I put my foot down, it popped over that little ball on the side of your ankle. And I was like, oh my goodness, that just happened. It's round 1. Felt like I dominated it. I got quite a big elbow in the first 10 seconds.
You did dominate.
I still remember his face looking butchered.
Beat the shit out of that American. It was nice to watch. Although I was concussed this
Yeah, I think you remember it, bro.
but I did remember. It was
I remember someone making a call after that fight. Oh man. So round 2, or in between rounds, I obviously go to my corner and then you have the decision to keep quiet.
Yeah.
Because what are they going to do about it? And I keep quiet and they pat me down, they take all his blood off of me and they're like, okay, let's go. And we go out, and round 2 also I believe went in my favor and I gave everything, but every time I step on this ankle it's like popping. Like, I'm like, okay, it's fine. After round 2, go to the corner, clean me up again, and in there I had to make a decision. This guy was the strongest guy I've ever fought in my life, and I was like, okay, I believe I won 1 and 2 without a doubt.
Yeah.
Number 3, I need to not gas and I need to not get finished. So now I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I went out there wanting to play around a little bit more with my striking and not fight as hard as I had the first 2 rounds. Not because I wanted to, my ankle and everything fighting smart. And I went out there and round 3 was amazing until the last minute and a half. He had me pressed up against the cage. I got a nice kimura and I flipped him on his back. And I couldn't keep that control and he turned on top of me and it was fine. He was mostly just holding on. I still tried to work the elbows, and there was one exchange where we had a little scramble, and as we scrambled my left knee popped and I was just like, can this end? Can this end? I just want it to be done now. And we keep going and it's like he's still on me and he's really mostly just holding on, and I'm just trying to eat as many elbows as I can because I want him to get agitated and stand up. And Richie calls something like 2 minutes and I'm like, my goodness, 2 minutes, no. And about 2 seconds later I hear the 10-second clap and I'm like, yes Rich, yes. And then this guy stands up and he tries to knock my head off. He hit me very hard with those last 2 shots. Ref called the end of the round and won by majority decision, I believe, if I remember correctly. Limped out of there, went to the hotel. There we still had an interesting interaction. We were busy eating our muffins and this oak starts clapping his girlfriend by the slot machines. So Rich is up first, jumps, it must have been 1.5 meters, 2 meter jump at least, over the balcony, but where we were was a different level to where the casino is, so it's fine, you jump, but then you drop 4.
Yeah.
And as Rich jumps, I don't know why I felt like I had to get into another fight, but I'm behind him, and I jump, and I still remember being in there going, okay, now where are you going to land, right ankle or left knee? And I just split it 50-50, boom! And I was like, oh my goodness. And I checked Rich at the guy, knee on belly on the ground, and I was like, he's got this. And I just like limped back to the table, like, I'm done. I'm done with this night, I'm done. And
I still remember you didn't even come out. You didn't. You stayed in your room that
yeah,
day.
I was in pain, brother. I was in pain. I remember we went for celebration beers and we're walking down this hill, and I step on this ankle and it's going like, and then I step on this knee and I'm like, And it was just terrible after the fight. So
I'm sure Dino could have carried you in hindsight.
I was trying to carry myself.
Yeah.
So I hammered, bro. I think because I was concussed and that the beers went straight.
yeah.
I was ugly drunk that night, but
Getting him after concussion, probably not the smartest thing.
no, I think it's taking its toll. No, when you fought like a champ, then
Yeah, it was a good fight.
Yeah.
The saddest part
coming
about
of
that
age.
fight, I think, was like, obviously the way Brave had set up with Sun City and that, and we had these like massive fights that nobody would see. You were just like, cool, guess they're just gonna have
It was empty, eh?
yeah. It
Yeah.
was pretty sad, but
kind of like how it's going to be for you in Russia.
Yeah.
So at least he's done it.
Yeah.
Brave's been doing it way before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
But
man.
anyway, but like, it seemed at the time like, obviously I don't know what was going on with you in the UFC. I know you did mention that you were struggling to get a fight, and whatever was becoming available, that's where you would be.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you were like the first of like, I was trying to think about it the other day, like, what would you say Mark Hulme was? And like the word renegade almost came to my mind, if that makes sense. It was like,
What does renegade mean?
so it was kind of like you went against the grain of what South Africans would do, you know what I mean? Like everyone would kind of bow down to the EFC at the time, you know what I mean? Like if it's not with them, it's going to be nowhere, you know what I'm saying? And like Russia was the forbidden land, you know what I mean? Like nobody goes to fucking Russia, you know what I'm saying? So it was very interesting to watch it all unfold, because I mean there was this guy marching at the EFC walkout with people's name on his jacket and fucking just like hammer it out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it was like the same dude was kind of like, in some sense, not 100% true, was kind of like flipping the bird to the UFC, be like, well, I'm just going to go fucking kick some ass in Russia, you know what I mean?
Interesting, I panned out not actually at all like that. So when I decided to pursue, when I decided, when I decided, let's try this again. When I decided to pursue,
stay a little bit closer. Yeah, come closer to Dino, then you can.
Dino, you remind me.
Come on, big boy.
So when I decided to pursue jiu-jitsu and focus on that for X amount of time, I went to EFC and I spoke to them and I said, listen, please release me from my contract, because I honestly don't know the next time I'm gonna fight MMA. I'm focusing on jiu-jitsu now, and to be honest, I was a bit fed up with just politics in general in MMA at that point. And they released me out of my contract, and that's where the jiu-jitsu journey started. And when I decided to come back to MMA, I went to them and said, listen, I'm ready to fight, but just one fight. I don't want to sign a 5-fight contract. And they said, look, they don't do business like that, they want a 5-fight contract. And I said, well, you have my number, if you want to, you phone me, I'll come fight, that's that. Because I am looking to go overseas as well, but in the meanwhile, I'm not going to sign that. And it so worked out that I got a fight in Russia before that. And the way that worked out is just God's grace, honestly, because it was short notice, you don't need a visa for Russia. And I think it's also just the type of person I am. When Brave offered me a contract, I spoke to a few people, and one of the things I said after a while, after still a lot of stuff happened, but I don't want to be the guy that goes, and I'm not speaking about anyone or anyone in South Africa or like any person, but just the person I am is, I don't want to go fight somewhere where I'm going to get lesser opponents than I would get in Russia. So I knew that. I knew when you go to Russia, you are getting talented fighters at any level. You go in there, you don't know who you're fighting, but you know they're all going to be good. It's not like maybe in any other organization you can get a European that's kind of made a name on like some no-name shows and he has like a decent record and now you're fighting him, but he's got no real wrestling or no real jiu-jitsu or no real stand-up. There's no real threat, but it's a nice fight for you. So I didn't want that. So that's how I rather pursued Russia than any other organization.
Okay. This is the thing what I was saying. That goes back to my renegade theory, because it's not really the route most people would take. That's what I'm saying. Like Russia, when it comes to combat sports, when you go there, is quite synonymous for you being the bait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like his name's Stuart Austin from here. He fought in Russia not so long ago. Similar sort of scenario. Like I mean, he lost here, then he won here, then there was nothing kind of happening here, and then he was like kind of bouncing, looking for fights. You know what I mean? Like whatever was going, he took. And he ended up fighting in some show in Russia that was like supposed to be like an entertainment evening for Putin himself.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, dude, you're not going to go there from wherever you came from to fight a Russian fella in front of his president and win. It's just not going to happen. And if you do, you're probably never going to be seen again. So, you know what I mean? Like it's such a crazy place. And I think even in boxing, I remember like old school boxers would always say like, you go to Russia to lose. Like that's what happens. Like you don't.
The judging and stuff.
I disagree with that a little
it's not
bit.
even the judging. It's just like it's a different it's a different mindset of combat athletes. You know what I'm saying? It's the okay. So like let's look at MMA for example. We know it's going to be a very wrestling heavy style. It's going to be ground and pound, and that's the way they're going to work. And if you're coming from like South Africa, maybe a less traditional wrestling style of MMA, you're mostly going to have problems. You know what I mean? For most guys, you're going to have problems. I can tell you now, 9 guys out of 10 on the EFC roster are not going to be putting their hand up to go fight in Russia. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, well, I think that's testament to like the character that this kid is, because he wants to. He's grown up. Like, what age did you get there to gym? To Rich's gym?
18.
18. He's grown up, getting beat on by Gareth, Chef. You know, so he's got this mindset of like he wants to fight the best. Sure. You know, he's grown up fighting like the best fighters in Africa. Now he's ready for whatever's next. And like what's even more so is that he's got all this faith in God and in like his walk and where he's going, and that's what stands him apart. I mean, speaking to Mark's manager and stuff, you know, he's looking after him, because when Mark came to me and he's like, hey, listen, come with me to Russia, I need a fucking training partner. I was like, well, where I was like, cool, I'm gonna take it. Like, I need to be doing this shit again. And yeah, we've been training partners for years, but he's just the character that he is. He just wants the best of the best, and his manager holds him in such high regard. I mean, like chatting and hearing the stories now, because we've obviously been together like 5 weeks. We've been training and talking, and I mean, we kept in contact his whole walk to Cape Town. I was like edging him on, and like I thought what he was doing, and the reason he was doing it was like for his age, he's showing like such maturity and stuff. And speaking to his manager now and stuff, they hold him that he's not the bait. He might have started off as the bait, but now, I mean, he did it. How long were you in Dagestan for?
7.5 weeks.
7, okay, so I'm just like off the bat here, because this is going to run us out of time.
I'm starting to get some stories tomorrow.
No, but listen.
Sorry.
Yeah, but so now he's been offered, I mean, his opponent's changed how many times? 4 or 5 times for this specific fight. And he's been offered to 2 Dagestanis, alright, and they've come back and said, no, they don't want to fight him. He's already trained there, they see him as a brother. That's coming from guys that the promotion's offering him. So for these Dagestanis, which, like, let's be honest, Khabib, everyone knows Dagestan doesn't take any shit.
Sure.
So for them to be saying that about this kid, he's gone there, he's trained in their camp, and I know his character, he wasn't just going to be starstruck. He's going there like, let's fucking see what you got. And like my points I'm trying to make is like, yes, a lot of guys start off as the bait, but he's gone there now, he's lived there, he's met his manager, he's lived with his manager, he's got to know his character, he's seen his record, they've seen his wrestling, they've seen his jits. Like, for the Dagestanis to say he's a teammate and we don't want to fight him because we see him as a brother, you know that he's not the bait anymore. Like, in my opinion, because I was fucking concerned. I was like, hey, geez, Marky, are you sure?
Yeah.
You know, he came to me, he's like, train with me. I was like, for sure, dude. I was like, I'm not your coach, I'm going to be your training partner, I'm going to be another body for you. And bro, he kills every day. He makes me, like, he reminds me I'm getting old now, because it's been long. But yeah, my point is, like, he might have started off the bait, but
no, for sure. I'm not saying that you're necessarily the bait. I'm just saying that's the outlook.
Yes,
of traveling to Russia for combat.
No, of course,
sport,
I just wanted to reiterate it from my side, like,
for sure.
He's held in high regard there.
Yeah, but look, I think if anybody was uncomfortable, you wouldn't go back. You know what I mean? You'd be like, yeah, Russia was cool, but fuck, that's not for me. You know what I mean? The other side of that point for me, like, if you look at like the Dagestani fighting style, I mean, Khabib being the exception, and maybe Makhachev in time to come, and guys like Ankalaev, but Ankalaev's obviously got like more of a stand-up sort of background. The big problem that they face is the style is not always fan-friendly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for a young guy trying to make a mark on MMA, sometimes those not so style-friendly fights are not the best option. You know what I mean? And you know, when you get to Russia, you're going to have to work around that. So it's all of these things add up to make Russia a very difficult place to find your way in. You know what I'm saying? And it's like forging your way through the fire, realistically, because and that's what I'm trying to say. And I think that's where I really tip my hat off to you, Mark. It's the harder path. It's the path less traveled. You know what I'm saying? And I can tell you now, not many guys are going to sign up for that route. That's the reality.
But that is something that I spoke to my manager about in the beginning, is, you know, because we were looking at other organizations, obviously, and we are in the game of also selling stories.
Sure.
You know, and you are not gonna make a story that you don't agree with. So I told him, look, if I go to Russia, when I go to Russia, and I fight the best that Russia has to offer, when I go to the States, what do I have to really worry about? Yes, there is going to be other dangerous fighters, but going to Russia, it is 100%, there is that stigma. But I must add to that as well, it's not because their technique is 100 times better than ours.
Yeah.
It's not because they know moves that we don't know. Like, I went there and I was astonished at the basics that they were actually drilling. But the difference is there's 50 oaks on the mat, 40 of which have been doing it since they were the age 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's the difference, is every day they're competing to get a step up on the hierarchy. And honestly, they did not show me much in the sense of something that I haven't seen before, something that I haven't trained or drilled before. But what I did see is 40 oaks pushing each other to the limit every single day, that has been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years. And I think we need to also get over the whole mindset of Russians are so tough. They are tough, yes, they are really tough, but we are also tough.
Sure.
And we are tougher than most, actually, because when I was there, you actually get to see the human side of it. Because all we know is Russians that we see on movies, and Russians that we see beating Conor McGregor, and yes, we just see this scary stigma of Russia, and I believe they love and thrive off of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is not like that. They are humans like us. They have a soft, nurturing side, just like us. And when they fight, they fight. When I started fighting, I fought with a lot of hate and anger. A lot.
we would have never guessed.
This is honest though.
But they fight with a fraction of that. They fight purely because they love fighting.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people will be shocked if they go there and taste the metal. Like, maybe getting there and it's your first fight in Russia and something like that, that might be different. But if you go and train there, you'll see these oaks are human. These oaks don't know much more than I do. These oaks just put in the work.
Sure.
And then they reap the reward.
Well, Marcus, where we started with this was leading to your long walk
to freedom.
To freedom.
Essentially.
we did get a little bit sidetracked, but I think that's kind of the point.
We are basically there. So after the brave fight, I woke up the next morning. I'm gonna make it a lot shorter than I have been, but
don't get under pressure because Bagatini was somewhere to be. Did you?
No, you know what happened. He just saw his girlfriend off at the airport. I can see this. Like, once you get home and phone her.
Yeah. You want to FaceTime and send emojis.
I came here to talk MMA. I don't have to be anywhere, anytime. I'm enjoying this.
Why is your phone beeping so much?
Yes, I just got vibrations in my legs getting stiff here.
It's nice. No video calls.
Oh,
Anything
man.
going on here. Just in case.
Yeah. So after that fight, I woke up the next morning to go to the bathroom because I had 4 drafts and I didn't go before I went to sleep. And I tried to get up and I couldn't bend my left knee that obviously got popped, and I couldn't put weight on my right ankle. And it was obviously very uncomfortable. So I woke up my girlfriend next to me. I'm like, hey, babe, can you give me some ice? And then we fought because it's like 3, 4 in the morning. And she doesn't want to wake up to get me ice. And then my coach is on the one bed. I don't really want to wake him up. And my friend is on the other bed. He just decided he's going to drive through last minute. Doesn't have a place to sleep. So I gave Doug my bed. And eventually when they all woke up, I said, okay, coach, you guys go down, please, go have breakfast because I can't move. And I told my friend, listen, you go get me a wheelchair because I need to get out of this room. And when they left, I had to still go to the bathroom, but I couldn't get to the toilet. So I just used the 5 litre next to the bed. And I'm like half on the bed, balancing on like whatever of this sneaker bend, and I'm basically like, ah. bah, and I just hear, bah, 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 bah. I'm like, oh my goodness, who's that? And it's my friend back with the wheelchair. And they come in and they're like, they see me doing my business and I'm a bit embarrassed. But eventually I get home and I find out a few weeks later I need to go for an operation. And at this point things aren't looking great either, because I've never been great with money, and I had to move a week or two before the fight because I wouldn't have been able to pay rent that December.
Sure.
So at that point I was living with my ex, and so I was living with her, had to get the operation, blew the money over December. I'll be much smarter this time obviously, but that's the way I was. I couldn't care about money. I never have. I don't care about materialistic possessions, and it just went as quickly as it came. Went for an operation early 2019. Early 2019. Went for the operation, and this is basically where it all starts. God closed all the doors for me in Joburg. All my clients got taken away. I just had no means of an income, and my relationship sadly ended as well. And I had nothing left in Joburg. And I moved back to Pretoria for the first time in like 7 years. When I was 18, I left the house. I was very, very determined to leave the house at 18. And I did, and I moved straight into the gym, and I lived there for a year and a half plus. And now after 7 years of just doing things on my own, I had to move back to my parents. I went through the operation in the Joburg Gen, which was also a different experience, and now I'm recovering there in Pretoria, and I took some time off. I went and lived by the church for a week just to draw nearer to God, because at this point in life that's literally the only reason I can see for me to live, is because there is a God and people need to hear about Him, and they need to hear about His message of salvation. But we're still also getting there. But through this whole time, I'm drawing closer to God, because I know there's a purpose, but I don't understand what's going on. It's just been chaos since that fight in Russia, and every time I think it can't get worse, it got worse. So now I'm living in the outside room there by my dad, and my ankle is just getting better, and I need to start training. And one night I'm driving on the bike, and it was a two-way lane. Like, honestly, I've never experienced something like it's two-way lane. I'm coming this way, this Tiny here wants to turn in front of me, and from about 100 meters at least I'm driving, and it flickers on, and I'm like, something inside is like, put on your brights, and I don't, because I don't want to be a chop. And as I drive past her, she literally goes boom into me, and the only thing she hits is my ankle that I just started walking on again. And I'm lying there, and the first thing I'm like, I just rotate my ankle to feel for the pop, and it's not popping, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I get up, I pick the bike up, the brakes like bended over the pedal, I pick a bumper up, I'm like, ja maar Tannie, hier is your bumper, moenie worry oor my nie, ek het nie insurance here, I don't have insurance, just you sort yourself out, cheers, and there I go, on my way. And from there, naturally, I had to find a gym, and I was in Pretoria, so I went and spoke to the guys from CIT. They welcomed me into their gym, and I started training there, started building myself up, started feeling good again. And November 2019, I felt, my ankle was honestly not 100% yet, but I felt good enough to go and fight. And during that time in 2019, this guy, Givy Popowski, messaged me on Instagram, and he's like, hey bud, I saw your fight in Brave, I like it, I would like to manage you. And I just read it, and I was like, I'm not even list for this management people anymore, and I just ignored him. And a few weeks later, I messaged him back, and I was like, hey bro, let's look at getting a fight. And we start talking, and we start looking at it, different avenues, different organizations, and we decide on ACA. And ACA offers me a fight 2019 in Poland, 8-9 weeks ahead of schedule. And I go to do my online visa request, and they can only give me a day to do the visa the week of leaving to go fight, the week of the fight essentially. And obviously I know that's not going to work. So I emailed them, hey guys, is there any way we can get a visa, like a emergency visa? I just need the date to be a little bit earlier so that I can get it in time. And I just get a reply, impossible. So I'm like, dude, do you know me? Like, do you know me? And we try everything in the book, me and my manager. Honestly, we try everything in the book. We even get the head of the Polish embassy's contact details. We set up a meeting with them. I go there. She's like, yeah, all sorted. Just speak to that guy. And that guy is like, didn't I tell you it's impossible in the email? I'm like, yes, I understand, but there's no one here and I'm here now. Like, won't you just help me? It's like, no, come back. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I keep, like impossible situation, truly. I didn't think it existed. So I keep training. Eventually, like the 10 days before the fight, I start doing my cut. I just go for my appointment date. I get there and the guy just looks at me like, you're not going to get it in time, don't even try. And my heart just breaks. And I'm like, okay, cool. I go outside, I phone my manager, tickets booked, everything's booked, fight confirmed. And I phone him, I'm like, listen, bud, it's not happening. He's just not budging. It's not happening. And he's like, okay, it's fine. We'll make a plan. And I still remember driving home going like, okay, what do I do now? Like, I'm literally busy cutting weight. I just carried on cutting my weight like through the next few days. And over the weekend, he messaged me and my manager messaged me and he said, listen, I've got a fight in December in Russia if you're keen. And I'm like, I'm 100% keen. I'm already on weight. Let's do it. Monday morning, 20 to 6, on my way to go teach the Jits Laws. There's a club in Pretoria called Maloko. And as I drive past it Monday morning, it was their closing down party. Yeah. This guy comes reversing out straight into me. Boom. Hit the deck, bust my knee, bust my hip, flipping shoulder, whatever else. And I get up there and it's a car full of Nigerians and we almost get involved because they drunk and they're like tuning me, yo, my license, my disc was expired, but like since 2017 or 18, something stupid like that. And I go to theirs and theirs is expired by 1 month. And I'm like, yeah, but it's the same. They're like, no, it's not the same. I'm like, oh, you don't understand, we're going to throw down now. And then the oak from Maloko comes in between and he separates us and the cops just stand there watching us. They literally just stood there watching us. I was like,
obvious.
But I let it go and this Bali came to me. I asked him, Bali, can I please have the smoke? And he's like, what? And I'm like, no, please, can I have the smoke? I need to just calm my nerves. And he gives me the smoke and he takes out another. I'm like, no. The day I quit. I'm like, no, just one. He says, no, it's not for you. And he starts emptying it. And I'm like, what's this Bali doing? And he gives me the tobacco. He says, put it on your knee. I was bleeding. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, put it on your knee. It's going to stop the bleeding. So I put the tobacco on my knee and it stops bleeding. I had to get stitches in my knee. 20 minutes after the accident, like 6:15, I get a phone call. My niece was just born. So it was like amazing / crazy / disappointing day I've ever had. And no, it's been honestly, it's been madness. And went through December, just kept on training. Had a smally time warm-up fight through December. Nothing serious, but I say I won. And January, I get a... I won't go into it. I can see Dino wants to go.
I used to know what happened.
Oh man. Anyway, January I get a call from my manager. Listen, bud, we've got a fight for you in Russia. No visa problems. You recovered, and we're training in Dagestan because I need to keep an eye on you. I'm like, okay, I'm keen. I'm down. Let's do it. So end of Jan, beginning Feb. On my way to Dagestan, started camp there, and it was like 6 or 7 amazing weeks, like truly amazing weeks. Good training, felt good, ready for the fight. And then about 2 weeks before, maybe 3 weeks before the fight, I found my manager and I was like, listen, my chest is not feeling too well, I have a little bit of a cough, nothing too serious, I just wanted to tell you, can I maybe go see a doctor? And things work different there, like completely different. He says, okay, give the phone to the taxi driver. No one speaks English either. And they speak to each other. He gives the phone back to me. He says, okay, he's taking you to go get x-rays. I'm like, for what? It's my chest. Just give me antibiotics. It's like, no, you're going to go take x-rays. So they take x-rays of me. Go home with the x-rays. We don't know what to make of it. I'm like, but where's my antibiotics, bro? He's like, no, now we need to find a doctor. I'm like, but what? Anyway, so one of my coach's wife was a doctor. She said I had bronchitis. So like, that's cool. That's something we get all the time in South Africa. It's not too bad. Like, just give me my antibiotics now. No, but he tunes me, you're going to go to the hospital for a week. I'm like, I can't go to the hospital for a week. I'm a little bit overweight. I need to train. Just give me my antibiotics. I'll stay in bed. He says, no, it doesn't work like that. Sends me to the hospital. I stayed there for a week. And look, a lot happened there as well, many stories, but like I said, I'm cutting it short for Dino's sake.
Thank you.
Get out of the hospital, and in Dagestan I was sharing a house with 3 other guys that I didn't know them from a bar of soap, but I got to know them very intimately through a bar of soap.
Jeez.
No, honestly, the bathroom was smaller than this table. 1 bathroom between the 4 of us, smaller than this table. Then the toilet was like here, literally here. The next to you is a little tap, and connected to the tap is a shower hose, and then there's a curtain rail that can separate the shower from the toilet, and all of it is literally this big. And one day I got home and my stomach was upset with me, and one of them were busy, yeah. I almost did something terrible, but I didn't.
I thought you were getting to the intimate part.
No. We're fast forwarding. So, when I got out the hospital, my coach, he actually organized me a new place to stay. And I was there for a week, was just about to start, I just got there a day or two, just about to start training the final week or 2 before the fight. And my manager messaged me like, hey bud, it's real and it's serious, and Moscow's gonna shut their borders on Monday. We need to get you home. And I'm like, no bro, listen, just relax. I'm staying here and we're fighting, we're doing this. He's like, no, the fight's cancelled. Moscow, when they shut their borders, you're not going home. So I'm getting you home this weekend. And he got me on the last flight out of Moscow back into South Africa.
Sure.
So now, like, do you understand why I say it's been 2 years?
Yeah.
Like, it's been 2 years of me trying and like really giving it my all, but things just happening. Like, you can't explain. Like, well, I don't know why after things happen. But later on the road, I realized we don't often know what we pray for. And I was praying for a lot. And God was busy setting me up so that He can bless me for what I've been praying for. So I got back home, and honestly, it was... honestly, it was quite a depressing time in my life. It was really... Like, I got home, and I couldn't go back to my dad. And lucky my mom took me in, and like, I didn't have anything really but my bag. Like, I only had my bag full of my shit. And I went to my mom, and that was an amazing time that we spent together. The first 4 or 5 weeks, it was really amazing time that we spent together. And then one day, I got a phone call. My friend, he did something stupid, and all the friends had to obviously come together and just be there for each other. And from there, it actually worked out amazing. My sister was there randomly, so I had a lift to get to everyone. And from there, obviously I'm dealing with that, I'm dealing with the fight, I'm dealing with the last 2 years, I'm dealing with where to next, what is next. You know, if it's not fighting, I don't know what. Like, honestly, I don't know what I would do other than fighting. But everything I've tried isn't working. And I still remember my sister picking me up from there, and I'm telling her like, yo sis, like the whole time I'm telling her like, I have this feeling I need to be somewhere. Like, I'm being edged on, like I'm late in fact, like I need to be somewhere, I have an appointment, but I cannot tell you where. And I'm so frustrated because I cannot go back to mother, I can't. And I cannot go back to my dad, I cannot go to you, I cannot go back to my friends, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And right then I get a phone call from another friend, hey Marky, how you doing? I'm like, no, I'm good, meneer Andries. He's like, no, listen, we're in Pretoria, where are you? I'm like, well, I'm here in Pretoria. He's like, listen, come visit for the weekend. And so starts a whole nother chapter. So I went to visit there for the weekend and ended up staying there for quite a few weeks actually in lockdown. And we had amazing times. Like, we went to Durban twice, and like they let me just relax for a while. Like, just breathe and not have to worry about life. But I can't not worry about life. I need to know what's going on, what is next. And I decided, like, I'm done. I'm done with Mark Hulme, I'm done with South Africa, I'm done with fighting, I'm quitting, I'm gonna go to the Foreign Legion, and I'm just gonna go do, you know, like, at
that's
least...
what you do when you fed up. I'm fucking out of here.
I was...
I'm gonna go join the Legion.
I have to do something.
No, I understand.
I have to do,
that's what makes you you. That's
yes.
what makes you fucking different.
No, I was so fed up. Like, they're actually lucky. And I started training for that. Like, honestly, I was like, if I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna excel at it. And I started training for that, started running my 10K, started doing my body weight exercises, and I was getting to the point of where like they would have had to accept me no matter what. And my manager phoned me, he's like, listen, let's try one last time while we're in lockdown. And I'm like, if you give me this much hope, I'm gonna take it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. But listen, I'm going to the Foreign Legion. I don't know about fighting. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know about fighting anymore, to be honest with you. I'll come smash one oak. Like, I was still a bit arrogant even. I was like, I'll come smash this guy. But from there, you smuggling me into France and I'm joining the Legion. And he's like, well, but I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. I'm very sad. Like, I don't really agree. But try go to this section because they're still allowed to fight. But, you know, just go do your thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. And during that time, like I said, I gave up on life. I gave up. And during that time, I just had this urge again to go spend intimate time with God. And it started with going to just be alone for a week in a field, just me and him. And it didn't work out like that. And then I got this idea, just walk the streets with him. Just walk the streets for a week with him. Just spend that time with him and don't worry about anything. And then that turned into walk to Cape Town. Because that's a substantial amount of time that you can...
It's also a substantial change from walking in the street to walking to Cape Town.
How many days?
50 days. 50 days. But, you know, I opened the map. Honestly, I didn't plan any of this. I didn't plan any of this. And it happened over a period of 2 weeks. I opened the map and I zoomed into Cape Town and I got to the point of the Cape of Good Hope. And I said, that's where I'm going, the Cape of Good Hope. Because I wanted to go spend time with God in the mountains. And
you know there's mountains in Johannesburg.
No one told me before I left.
Drakensberg.
Yeah. And you know, like for a while I was just praying about it and I had it in my own head, like, okay, you're doing this. And then I started mentioning it to a person here and a person there. And as I started mentioning it to people, God just started providing the backpack, the sleeping bag, the tent, socks. Someone offered to buy me shoes and I was like, no, I'm walking in what I have. And in about 2 weeks I had everything. Someone helped me with money for the road and I was just like, it's go time. And obviously you think about a few aspects. I didn't plan the route, I didn't plan where I was going to sleep. I had no plans, I just needed to walk. And I was walking out of Midrand past Soweto, just around the rim of Soweto, and then into Northwest, Potch, and then into Free State. And my friends that I was living with were like, listen, so we spoke to each other and we'll take you to just past Soweto to start. And I said, I can't accept that, because it's part of it. It's part of it, the danger is actually part of it. I need to trust in God to protect me. I need to trust Him to take me this whole way. I need to trust Him to provide me a sleeping place when I don't know. And so it ended that the first day I literally ended up on the rim of Soweto and I couldn't walk any further. The sun was about to set and I looked into the distance, there's a field, and in the field there's a circular bush like this. And I thought, okay, that's it. That's where I'm sleeping tonight. And in a moment, it was a very busy road and the field was very busy because they walked through it into the township. And in a moment there was no one and nothing. And I could step into that bush and I still remember just sitting there going like, oh my goodness, I just walked all day. I did 38 kilometers that first day and my feet are sore, my back is sore, everything is sore, my mind is tired. And I sit there and and like Oaks was shitting in that bush. Like that was their toilet. And I'm sitting next to Oaks' stroller and I had to like clean out.
It's always bad enough we can't.
Wait till we get to the cocktails. But yeah, I had to clean that and that was my resting place for the night. I had to lay down my tent flat because I couldn't set it up. Slept on my tent outside in the open air without an ounce of fear. But not because of who I am. Because a week before that, I was lying alone at home and every noise I heard outside would make me get up and would make me worry and would make me like a little bit iffy. And there I'm lying there and I don't have any fear in me. And it's not me, it's truly God that just came and blessed me. And I still remember coming there next to the bush and he's like gathering firewood and I look at him and he can't see me, but I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, what am I going to do if this guy comes in here? Like, hey, bud.
Imagine what he was going to do if he saw some fucking dude sitting in the bush.
White oak.
White oak.
In the middle of the night. And he knows that's with oak shit and he's sitting in there.
That would have been crazy. But it didn't happen, and he walked on, and about early hours of the morning I heard 2 gunshots. And I like opened my eyes and I just checked, okay, it's not here close to me. Slept again until the sun came up, rolled up my tent, and now it's day 2, and you know, you haven't broken all your habits. I need a coffee to just kickstart my day. And I walked like a few 100 meters down the road and there's a taxi rank to my left. And I walk into the taxi rank and this old bully winds down his window and he looks at me and says, do you know where you are? And I'm like, no uncle, I don't know where I am.
You know where I can get a coffee?
and he's like, it's dangerous here. And I'm like, I just want a coffee, uncle. And he's like, okay, go to that blue house. And I'm like, okay, cool. I go there, and across from it is a little caravan, and everyone's just looking at me like, what is this oak doing here? Like, do you know where you are?
This is day 1.
And I get my coffee, a re-coffee, 7 rand in a polystyrene cup, and I drink my coffee, and I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. And I ask the guy, where can I get some water? And it's like, no, the tap's right there, and there's a tap right in the middle of the field. And I fill my water, and everyone, you know, everyone was more pleasant towards me and more open than you would ever expect.
Sure.
And I left there and I carried on walking. And then there's a million stories I can tell about the road, honestly. Sure. There's a million. But what I will get to is when I got to Cape Town, I rested for a week, and then there was still the 13 Peaks Challenge at Lade. And the idea there was, not the idea, what I did there is I prayed on every peak. Nine provinces of South Africa, our leaders, and then for the road forward, and for everyone that helped me, everyone that got blessed on the road. And in the last peak I prayed and thanked God for everything He had done.
Amen.
But now that is 100 kilometers over Table Mountain that you can fathom, but you can't really, because I started at Signal Hill and got to Lion's Head, and I did that so quickly. I was like, this is going to be a breeze. I'm doing this thing in 24 hours. And then like...
The competitors, I've just beat Russia.
And then like...
Hey Russia, hold my beer.
I'm coming.
Yeah, and then like 3 hours later, I'm still busy climbing the second peak, which was... I forgot the name now. But anyway, when I get to the top of it, I see it's not a peak, it's actually Table Mountain. And I naively climbed out Table Mountain, just thinking, you know, it's going to be nothing. It's going to be like 13 little lion's heads. And for 3 days I was in the mountains, like climbing, getting lost with my GPS and everything. And day 3, I woke up and my knee was swollen. It was quite swollen. I couldn't really bend or straighten it properly. My phone was on 10%, and I was getting lost with my phone and the GPS. So to do it without it would literally be impossible. And then to top it all off, the tips of the mountains were all covered in clouds. And I woke up that morning and I was tired, I was fed up, I was in pain, and I was done. And I quit. I sat there on that little bench outside that little information desk, and I quit, and I had no energy, and I just picked my Bible up to read, and I couldn't even open it to read, and I just pressed it against my head, so frustrated, thinking, like, I've quit now, but what are you going to do? Like, you're sitting, your phone's dead, you don't have signal, like, what are you going to do? And eventually I just packed my bag and I got up and I walked to the closest town. I think it was called Driehoek or something like that. And I was actually there a week or 2 weeks before that, because from where I ended at Cape Point, I walked across the mountains and I walked through that little town, so I was a little bit familiar with it. And I went to a little coffee shop, charged my phone, had a coffee, phoned a friend, and we just prayed. And God came and strengthened me, and He gave me new courage. And I went back to that point where I left from in the morning, and I started walking. And I finished the last 3 or 4 peaks, which included Devil's Peak at the end. And if anyone's ever climbed Devil's Peak, then it's quite high up. And
well, I would hope so. That's why they call it Devil's Peak.
Yeah.
It's just like a little rock.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty pissed off.
And believe me, it was scary. So I got at Devil's Peak, it's the second last peak, at about 6:30, between 6:30 and 7, as the sun was setting. And I dropped my bag, I took my phone, I took my headlamp, and I ran up there, 1,001 meters, I'll never forget that, 1,001 meters, and I ran up, and just about halfway, there's like a little level, and then you can choose left or right, and devil speaks to the right, and I ran up, and I still remember that was the second last week where I prayed for myself and what's next in my life. And as I ran up there, it's misty, it's dark, the clouds are covering it, the wind is blowing like you can't imagine. And I'm running up there and I'm like, no one will ever know if you don't go to the top. Like you basically on there will speak, no one will ever know. But I will know and God will know. That's why I'm doing this, is for Him and with Him. And as I run, as I start seeing the peak, as I start seeing the beacon, I just start shouting it and in full blast, like, thank you, God. Like, thank you, and let your will be done. Honestly, I couldn't care anymore. I couldn't care anymore what happens to me or what's next, what I have to do next. I don't care. I still want some clarity, but I'm content now. I'm content. And I finished that night at Signal Hill, thanked Him for everything, and the cops still drove me down Signal Hill, and now I had 25 rand in my pocket and a phone that was dead. And as I get to the bottom, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I can barely think, but I just need to charge my phone so I can make a place to sleep somewhere, because I've heard Cape Town is very dangerous. And I look to my left, and Cape Town's to my left, and I look to my right, and Camps Bay to my right. But I'm planning on going to Cape Town because I don't know Camps Bay. And the cop tells me, listen, where are you going? And I say, I don't know, officer. And he says, well, to the left is Cape Town and to the right is Camps Bay. And I just look at him and he says, if you go to Camps Bay, go ask the police station if you can't sleep there tonight. And I thought that wouldn't be too bad. And I walked.
It's not a bad idea.
Second time sleeping at the cop shop.
Would have been my first. Never got caught. And as I walked there, I still remember, like, it's done now. The whole journey was done. And I couldn't say that I got the answers that I was looking for in that moment, that exact moment. But I was content. And just before I got to the cop shop, I still remember running into a couple, and we talked and we shared a little bit, and the two big things that laid ahead of me was obviously the Foreign Legion or fighting, of which one of the two for 2 years didn't work out, so it was obviously leaning a little bit more to the one side. And I spoke to them and I very briefly explained to them what I just spoke to you guys about. And this girl said something that shook me to my core. She said, how many times does God close a door before you realize it's shut? And I looked at her and I said, yes, but is it everything you've ever worked for, everything you've ever hoped for, everything that you've ever dreamt for? And she said, yes, but if it was that, then you would have given it your all. And it really, it hit me so hard in my heart, and it kind of just killed the buzz there, and I was like, okay guys, I'm out, I need to go to the police station. And I left, and I got to the police station, and that tiny chased me away. And I walked the road a little bit, got to a place, charged my phone for a few minutes, walked back to the police station because I couldn't sleep in there. I was going to sleep right across from it. So I went into a bush there right next to the ocean, right across from the police station, and I slept there the night with those words in my head the whole time. If you wanted it, you would have given it your all. And I woke up the next morning and I went and walked on the beach, and this word is just like lingering in my head all the time. If you wanted it that badly, you would have given it your all. And then eventually I end up at some friends of mine, their daughter and her husband, and they take me in for the weekend, and we go to their kids' party. And something very important, while I was on the mountain, I got a fight offer in December, which I told my manager, listen, just hold on to it, because I don't know yet. And while we're sitting at this kids' party, about 2 days later, I phone him and I say, listen, but if there's one thing this road has taught me, it's perseverance and endurance, and to get up every morning when the sun rises, and to go to bed every night when it sets, and to just never quit for 50 days on the road from Midrand to Cape Town, and then for another 3 days in the mountains. I was not allowed to quit. Many times the thought crossed my mind, many times I wanted to, but I couldn't. I couldn't. And then it dawned on me where I started on day one, where I was in my life, and where I was literally the last day in the mountains is the same place where I was. I gave up. When I started, I gave up on Mark, I gave up on life, I gave up on fighting, I gave up on South Africa and just everything here. I wanted to become something completely different because I couldn't understand why it was so difficult to just get to a fight. And then I look back at literally the last day. You would think if you've gone through 50 days on the road and another 2 days through the mountains and you're like 3/4 of the way done, you wouldn't even think of giving up, but I gave up. But God came and He strengthened me in that moment, and He allowed me to finish that same night, that I didn't have to sleep in the mountains, and finish the next day. And I phoned my manager, I said, listen, but like honestly, I just got a revelation that I need to finish fighting. I need to finish fighting. That it is a God-given talent. He blessed me with it. Something I've been doing since I was 15 years old. And everything that has happened to me is something that I've prayed for. And the only reason I've ever wanted to fight, I fought for many reasons, many bad reasons. But the only reason why I want to fight now is to glorify the name of God and tell people that there is someone, His Son, Jesus Christ, that came to die for their sins. And that if you believe in Him and that you confess, if you confess with your mouth and you believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior and that God raised Him from the dead, then you will be saved. That is literally my life. That's my life's mission. That's the only thing that matters to me. I love every person on this earth the same. I love my opponent. But that is what my life has come to. And that is what I was praying for. But I was not ready to live that life without having gone through everything, without having lost everything. And that is why I believe God has opened these doors for me to go back to Russia. Why He has put this man in my life. The way we met is, well, not the way we met. The way God crossed our paths again is just so amazing, because I was sitting after the road going, I don't know what's next. I don't know, must I stay in Cape Town? I was so confused. I didn't know anything, but I had a strong urge that I needed to train with him. And I phoned him and I said, listen D, I feel like God has led me to you. I believe He wants us to train together. And he was a little bit unsure, to be honest.
Yeah.
He was...
It's a pretty strange call to receive. Like, listen, I just got this message from God. How are you feeling?
That's exactly how it went. That's exactly
like,
how it
honestly,
went. It was exactly like that. And it's like, it is weird because like I was in a place in my life where I was also losing everything. Everything I'd worked for the last year in Durban was falling apart before my eyes, and I was out of control, and I was like, oh my shit, I'm losing it all, and you know, like fuck, depressed, and like I've never been like that, and I think, I don't know if it's like the whole world was probably going through the same thing with lockdown and stuff, and I was cooped up, but you know, I still worked throughout lockdown, and I was like at the end of it, and then this guy phoned me, and he's like, hey, listen, I've just got this message.
Was it a WhatsApp?
Yeah, it was a WhatsApp.
Yeah, he actually likes the Telegram more.
Yeah. So, and I was exactly this, and I'd also drawn closer to God in my time because of, like, I was in a very bad, dark place, and then this kid phoned me, and yeah, I was like, I thought about it, and like I also knew I had to come back to Joburg and go back to doing something I was familiar with, because I was out of my comfort zone and going through this identity change, not crisis, but I was changing from, you know, nearing the end of my career. And he phoned me and like said, you know, like, will you help me? I was like, sure, bro. This is amazing, because this is exactly where what I've been thinking I need to do is like go back to doing something I'm good at, well, something I enjoy and something I'm passionate about, and it's been incredible. And we've grown like close in this time, and we've been working together, and like yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun, and there's like not that I've never had fun doing what I'm doing, but like this time it feels different, because like, yes, okay, I'm not fighting, but everyone knows me. If something happens in Russia and they need a welterweight, I'll fight. But like just this kid, like I've drawn so much strength from this kid, man, who's 26 but so mature, and has like walked to Cape Town, and you know, it's just there were two words that stuck with me when he phoned me, and he's like, he's doing everything on faith and grace. And it's not like we just sitting there going, you know, praying like, oh Lord, you know, like.
So let me give an example. So I knew I had to start training on Monday. This is about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I knew it was going to be in Edenvale. and I knew Rory was going to help me with my conditioning, and me and Dino were going to train together. Where we didn't know, what gym we didn't know, I just knew I had to be there on Monday. And so it happened that Sunday I'm still in Pretoria, and I get a phone call from a friend in Sunninghill. And as we chatting, I'm like, listen, bud, but can I sleep over by you tonight? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I sleep over there, and this is when this chat happened, and I don't know, he phoned me, I phoned him, and we just chatting. I'm like, okay, cool. So training with Rory sorts it out, but obviously we need to train as well. We need to get a gym. We need to do all these things. And he's like trying to plan it and like make concrete plans, but neither of us are in the position to actually make any plans. And I said, listen, D, I understand what you're saying. We need to get all of these things. We need to sort out everything. One of which was still a place to sleep, because I didn't know where I was sleeping Monday night. But I was also fine with it, because I know all I have to do every day is train. I don't care where I sleep. All I have to do is train. And I know God will provide food as well. So I'm like, hey, I appreciate everything you're saying. I understand it, but I can't try plan anything, because I don't have the backing to do that. But let me tell you this, I'm doing this camp by grace and faith. And he's like, yo, but this and this and this. And I'm like, listen, but honestly...
It's my father and me, bro. Like, listen, bro, you can't just go to fucking Russia.
Yeah.
And it's a grace of faith. Carry on.
And I'm like, listen, but I hear everything you're saying, and we're going to put in the work, but I can't think a day further than 2 days, because then I'll lose it. I'll go absolutely crazy, because there's just too many factors to consider. We're doing this by grace and faith, and he goes, yo, I keep hearing you saying, like, we're going to do this by grace and faith, but, I'm like, just trust me, bud. Just trust me. Like, I've been doing this 50 days on the road, few days, I didn't say this, but that's what I'm thinking. And Monday morning I woke up and I went for my first run, messaged him like, hey, bud, first session done. I went for a run, I'm feeling good, now I'm going to make my way to Joburg. And I used my last money to get to 4 Elements, where I trained with Rory Diesel. And he picked me up from there, and we chilled the day together, and we had a lot of good chats, and like obviously we needed to catch up. And so that night we went to go check out a gym, and we went there, and actually just kind of like they just kind of, I don't know, they were not very welcoming, and we didn't ask them for much. We just wanted to train with them, and like an extra half an hour before after the class. And it was fun. We trained with them that evening. It wasn't like seriously good vibes, but it's fun. We trained a day. I did 3 sessions for the day, and I was happy. And I sort of remember thinking, okay, God, like, I really need to eat now, and I would love a place to sleep. But in that same breath, I'm also saying, it is okay though for me to go sleep next to the gym. Like, honestly, I wouldn't mind it, because I know tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to train again, because that's all that matters. You put this fight in front of me, I believe this is your will, I believe this is what you want me to do. So if you bless me with a bed, amazing, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make this happen. And we get to his house, and he invited me for dinner, and we had lekker burgers, and I still remember shouting there going, yo, thank you God, like, we're going to have a lekker chow now. You provided my food for the evening, but I still need a place to sleep. And I'm content, I will go sleep there, I've done it now, but it would be lucky to have a bed. I'm quite tired. And we're sitting outside, and I'm busy putting on my boots, and he's like, bud, like, where you going? I said, no man, relax, I'm just going to walk a little bit. He's like, yeah, but I can't have you sleeping on the road. I'm like, bro, honestly, like, just relax. And it, not to make him sound bad, it was in a situation where I couldn't sleep there that night. But he even said he would, but I wouldn't accept it because of the situation. And as I
just offered him my mom's couch. It's not like anything bad.
It was bad, dude. It was bad.
Sorry, you can sleep on the couch, and she wouldn't have minded.
But I couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept it. And I put on my shoes, and he's like, no, but honestly, like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, listen, I'm gonna walk for a while, and then I'll phone a friend. And he's like, but phone him now. And I'm like, I wasn't gonna phone him. Yeah, I wasn't gonna phone him, but now you're putting me on the spot, and I don't really want to lie. So I phoned him, and I just started chatting to him a little bit, not really ask, like, I didn't want to ask him for anything. And he ended up asking me, listen, but where you based now? Like, where you at? And I said, well, I'm in Edenvale, but honestly, I don't have a place to go. And this guy helped me, he sorted me out with the hotel for 2 nights. He sent me some e-wallet money so that I could buy food for the next few days. And it's a long story that I won't drag out, but for 2 weeks, God provided a place to sleep. Every night I had a bed to sleep, and every day I had my diet food to eat. Not just food, not shitty food, but actual decent food that I could lose weight on. And at the end of that, it's a whole different story for another time. But my point being, today I got that poster. It's been on for long, and I've known it, but today we got the poster and it was like, it's on and it's happening. And for 2 years I tried everything in my human capacity to make this fight happen. For 2 years I can't tell you like how hard I tried. The hours I put in, the rehab I put in, the sacrifices I made, like with nothing, still putting in everything, and it just didn't happen time after time. And in a period of, let's say, 3 months, 4 months of just letting God take over, letting God be in control, from the time the road started until when I got back, the way God blessed me with the flight to get back, so I didn't have to walk back. And like that was a reality. That was a reality. And just the way he provided through this camp, the way he put this man on my path, and the way we work together, and the doors that he's opened, in a time where it's not the easiest time to actually travel into a country where there's still lockdown restrictions there, not many people can get into the country. He's opening all these doors for us without any hassles. We went today for our cover test and we got it within, not even 5-6 hours. And, it was just amazing for me to think, and I'll leave it at that, is for 2 years I tried humanly everything. And I was going to go and become a mercenary. And, in 6 weeks of training camp, God just opened every doors. But because, and I firmly believe this, because I put my hope in Him, I put my trust in Him. And, before going to the Foreign Legion and maybe getting my ass handed to me, and before making another choice, I decided to draw closer to Him, and I decided to strengthen myself in Him. And through that, He's now opening the doors forward so that He can get the glory. I firmly believe I'm nothing. I don't think anything of myself. But there's a scripture, my phone's downstairs now. I think it's 2 Timothy 2 verse 14 or something. But it says, I will endure anything if it will bring salvation to those that God has chosen. And there's 2 parts to that. But, I will endure anything means that when I train and my body hurts and I don't want to anymore and I don't have anything materialistically, and all of these earthly things that seem to bother us so much, when all of those things start worrying me, all I go is, it's fine, because if I can reach one person that doesn't know Jesus Christ, and they can give their life to Jesus Christ and be saved, then everything is worth it. Any amount of suffering is worth it. And then the other part, this is just purely an intriguing part for me, is to those God has chosen. So what does that mean? God only chose certain people, and I was struggling with that and thinking about that a lot, and it's not, but it's like a double bind in a sense. To those God has chosen, God chose everyone. God's hand is open to everyone. It is your choice. But if you don't choose Him, then He's not going to choose you. But His invite is still there. And I think that is basically, in a nutshell, what has been going on in the last 2 years, and why I'm so on fire for life in general. We were driving one day, me and Dina, and I told him, yes brother, I've never in my life been this happy, ever. And I said, but don't mistake it, and don't think that it's easy all the time. Don't think for a second it's easy all the time. Like, I still go through everyday life, I still go through thoughts in my head that I would rather not have. But just being given over to God, and just, being able to live a life that I believe He's laid in front of me. Not my own choices, but His. It's amazing, my brother. And it's freedom. It's freedom like I can't describe to people.
100%, man. And look, I'll be straight up honest with you. I'm not a massively religious person, but I found it super interesting on what you were doing, and it was I felt like, and I'll be straight up honest with you, like the first post we saw, like you're gonna walk to Cape Town, I'm like, oh God, this looks fucking crazy. What is he doing? Where is he going? You know, which I'm sure in reality a lot of people would have thought. You know, like Mark, please, calm down, fucking come back.
It's not that bad,
man. Yeah, you know,
life isn't that bad.
But like I felt at the time it was. What really resonated with me was besides any of that is that you were in a time where a lot of people were very scared, you know what I mean? And I think people right now still are very scared. I know in my house personally, like over the last let me say 6 months, like I spent a lot of time concerned about my family's safety. I think that's just been the atmosphere we've been living in, and watching you walk and sleep in the street and doing whatever, I felt like beyond there was a part of you also trying to show that we don't live in this devil land that's always made out to be, and there's not, you can go outside and you can fucking enjoy the country we live in, and you know that was something that I was taking more than anything from what you were doing, and I was like, you know, Mark might be onto something here. You know what I mean? Like, besides anything else, there was, and that's why I was so determined to get you on here, because I think like seeing people do these massive, what did you say, like endurance, feats of endurance, or whatever you want to call it, like seemingly impossible tasks. That there's always something that resonates differently with other people, you know what I mean? And I was like, at first I was like, good Lord, this guy's crazy, my word, where is he going? Why is he wearing the same shoes every day? You know what I mean? Like, what is going on here? You know, but like watching it continue was really, really, really interesting. I don't know if you've read a book. There's Deepak Chopra wrote a story on the story of Buddha and how Buddha actually came to be. You know, Buddha was like this very wealthy prince who lived in a palace, and also he had like a yearning, and he was like, he wants to become this Buddhist monk and just absolutely turn out. And it was this continuous search of enlightenment. That's how Buddha became. He did these crazy things, and he took people deep into the mountains and would meditate for copious amounts of time until he just became enlightened. And it was almost the story that what I took from that was like, you have to go and seek that, you know what I mean? You're not just going to sit there and accept it. It's not just going to come to you. And again, it's a weird segue, and I think that's always going to relate to combat sport, and that's always been my passion about watching combat sport and trying to understand athletes and the mindset, because I think it's like that. It's not, MMA is not something you can just do. It's something you're going to have to go and seek out, and it's something you're going to have to face. And funny enough, you were talking about that feeling of quitting all the time, and I think all athletes at a high level have to deal with those demons on a daily basis. You don't want to train, you don't want to get up, you know there's XYZ going on, but you have to prioritize those 3 sessions a day, and you have to do that more than anything to allow yourself that freedom of mind to say, look, I put in the work, I did the job, everything is out of my hands now. You know what I mean? Whether you're religious or not, I think that sort of message is always going to resonate. And like, it's out of my hands now. I've done what I needed to do. You know what I mean? Now whatever's going to happen, is going to happen. So I mean, I think it was a powerful message, and I don't know how many people have stopped and applauded you. I think it was an incredible thing to see it at such a crazy time, especially, you know what I mean, where people were so worried about other things, about this and Corona and financial issues and crime issues and political issues and racial issues.
That's what the virus brought, and the lockdown brought, was that fear, and you know, the media and all that. Like, don't get me started on conspiracy theories.
Sorry, electricity's gone.
No, but like, it brought this fear. This fear, and like, I remember, like, Mark, in this time, I've heard in depth like the stories, and like, this kid should write a book at the end of it. But seriously, because the stories that are in there and the motivation behind it, and like, he has this 26-year-old who's now at the end of it, he's everything, and like, maybe lockdown came in, because it brought that in your life, my life, in a lot of people's lives. And he's gone out, and one of the stories he said, that I can't remember who it was, but someone said, just let me know how
I actually wanted to relate to that. So, full story or?
No, short.
Basically, this farmer, one night I phoned him, I got his number from his worker, and I phoned him and I asked him for a place to sleep. And I just said, listen, please, can I just pitch my tent in your bushes? Because we're in the Free State, there wasn't a lot of bushes. And I pushed myself to the limits to get to his bushes, and the sun was like, it was gone. It was like 5-10 minutes left of sun. And as I get to the bushes, so he said eventually, yes, you can sleep in the bushes. And as I get to the bushes, he phones me again. He says, listen, bud, there's actually an empty house on the property. My workers are going to pick you up and they're going to take you to the house now. And you can sleep in the bed there for the night. And they took me up there, and I had the whole house to myself for that evening. I had grapes and a slab of fruit and nut chocolate that someone on the road gave me for dinner. And the next morning he came to shake my hand and like just have a chat. And he told me a story of him traveling with a taxi and a bus from Free State to Pretoria. And he said, after the story, he said, but listen, so basically I want to ask you a favor. When you get to Cape Town, when you get to your end destination, please call me and tell me. And he said, I already think I know the answer, but just you please call me, because you're going to see a lot more than I could ever. But call me and tell me if it is as bad as they say it is out there. Tell me if it is as bad and if there's hope. And at that point I was walking for about 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. And I told him, listen, I can tell you now I've been walking for about 2 weeks and it is not as bad. I've come through 2 locations, I've slept next to the road, and it is really not that bad. There's hope, people have good and kind hearts, and above all, a lot of people are longing for a connection to God. They are longing for more. And when I got to Diaz Beach in the Cape of Good Hope, I phoned him and I said, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. The week before that I slept in a township in Wellington called Smarty Town. And it's a kind of township, poorest of the poor that you'll ever see. But they took me in, they gave me a bed to rest my head, they gave me a plate of food, and they looked after me, and they actually kept me safe. And I told them, there's hope. There's hope. For anyone in this country that thinks there's not hope, shut down your TV, shut down the mainstream media, and just go look outside. People are fed up, yes. The guy that you're meeting in the road that's shouting at you or flipping someone else is not a bad person. He's not doing that because he hates South Africa or he hates people. He's doing that because he's also in the same boat as you. He's also fed up with the lies that we are being told. So I can completely resonate with what you were saying.
And is this the same worm? The farmers.
But let's not go there, buddy. That's the full story. You said half the story. You said half the story.
That's where Frank and Puppy was born. Let's do that, Joe.
Good job.
No.
Yeah, but I think that's a powerful way to end there, Mark. I think that's a great message. And like I say, that was one of the things I was very intrigued by. And in essence, it is that that there is hope and there is still human kindness out there, and it's not all doom and gloom, and at the end of the rainbow you get to smash some dude in Russia, which is pretty fucking awesome.
Exciting times at our end. Exciting times.
I wish you the best of luck, dude. I know it's not easy in Russia, but it's worth the rewards, I guess. Spending a bit of time there, and we'll hopefully get to see you perform. I know people are going to ask me about times and dates, and I will keep you updated. Thank you very much for your time, dude.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm glad you didn't have to walk here. I'm glad you could get your buy a vehicle.
Left at least.
Fantastic. We'll catch you soon, Mr. Bagatine.
Thanks, man.
I'll have you back in Joburg and still at welterweight. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you soon. Peace.